quickly to the mind. This is my daughter, my youngest. I said, Eden always slow roasts her marshmallows. Have you ever heard of any of the marshmallow stuff, the self-regulation studies? Have you heard that? I know Carol's heard that. Well, let me just take you real quickly through that. I read this fabulous book this summer. You can write it down if you want to. It's called The Power of Habits. And it's about looking at your mind and understanding what's happening to you on a daily basis with the understanding that about 60% of what you do is habitual. Right? 60% of what you do every day is habitual. It's Charles Duhigg. I don't know where I get that word. D-U-H-I-G-S. Charles Duhigg. So anyways, he wrote this book, and I just have loved this book. This has been a fantastic book. I recommended it to all my friends. And it talks about how, because so much of what we do is habitual, like you don't think about driving to work, right? But you thought about driving here today. Why? Because it was a different route. A lot of times you don't think about the apple that you have in the morning for breakfast, because you do that all the time, or the crackers that you eat for lunch. But if you're going to do 17-day diet, are you going to think about it? You're going to plan your little lunch bag. I used to say to my husband, I need a bigger lunch bag. There's so much of broccoli in here, right? So you become much more intentional. What Duhigg is saying to us in his book is that basically for almost all the things we do in life, we see I have a cue, something that makes us think, oh, I should do this. We have a routine and a reward. So a great way to see that is when the alarm clock goes off, right? That's the cue. What happens? What are your routines and your rewards? Do you lace up your sneakers in the morning? I do. Maybe not. You should, right? Okay. Do you read a book when you have a few seconds, or do you watch television? Those are the routines and the rewards. And so in this book, he's exploring how can we look at our habits, what do we know from brain science, and how do we make change? And that is one of the great questions for me, the great questions I will take into the next adventure of my life after I die. I will ask, how do we make change? What changes did I make? Was I effective at changing myself? Okay, so how can we continue to make those changes? And especially for children, right? We have children who respond to certain cues with certain behaviors. They get certain rewards. How do we change that habit loop? Okay, so replacing the loop for me. Do you know that companies know about the habit loop? They know about the cue, about the routine and the reward. So, have you ever noticed how McDonald's has gone through this recent renovation? Has anyone noticed this? And all the drive-thrus look the same. Why would they do that? Why were they striving to have the drive-thrus look all identical? Why would they do that? Because when we see this little thing, when we see this, our brain goes, goodness is coming to me. Delightfulness. I go into that drive-thru, oh, it feels good. Now I gotta tell you, I have a McDonald's habit. I do. But guess what what I found is I had to break the cycle and replace it with something. So this is what we found from science, is that because of the way your brain is wired, when you have one of these little patterns, you're never going to get rid of it. Your only hope for change is that if you replace the routine in the middle, because you still want the reward. So here's what happens. When I see these golden arches, I say to myself, what can I have? I can have apple slices. I can have a yogurt. I can have a water. I can have a coffee. When I was in high school at 18 and I had a girlfriend who took me through a drive-thru and she just ordered a Diet Coke, it was revolutionary to me. I was like, you mean you can go through a drive-thru and you don't have to get French fries? I said, really? I was like, she's really skinny. Oh my gosh, there's something to this, right? Yes, you can go through a drive-thru and just get a coffee. I do it. Or even sometimes when I'm really terrible, a Diet Coke. You can do that too. And I'm telling you that, I tell my kids all the time, listen, you're going to be in situations where everyone's going to go out for fast food. You're going to be in situations where everyone's going to go to 7-Eleven. You can get a meat stick, you can get a cheese stick, you can get a salad. You can make healthy choices, because my kids are not always going to sit at my dinner table. They're not always going to just be around me. They're coming up into their teenage years. And I've got to have these good habits in place so that they already know what those routines are, so that when they're not falling apart when they're away from my own dinner table. Okay? I do love this picture. How great is that? Look at these dogs. So good. Must be like police training academy, right? Okay, so here's what we know about self-regulation. The more effective you are at having good habits, the more successful you are in everything. Everything in life. So, hey, Karen, you talked about having self-discipline, right? Once you have more self-discipline in the way that you eat, it spills over into everything in your life. That's what we know from research. So basically it says this is one of my favorite quotes. It's from the author of our child development book. And this is what she said: self-regulation predicts effective development in every domain. And it comes back, let's show you the marshmallow dealing. Okay, here's the marshmallow. That's why I say eat and always slow roasted marshmallows. My daughter is extremely self-regulated. I really think in this coming summer my son's going to be 12, and I leave them alone for a little bit of time, right? Maybe just a couple hours by themselves. I've been very hesitant about this because my son is going to be in charge and not my daughter. My husband and I have had real legitimate discussions. Can we put the 5-year-old in charge of her brothers?
Nope.
We really considered it. Is there any way we can equitably do this where he won't like privately kill her later? So anyway, because let me tell you, she will come up to me with a list. Mommy, while you were gone, right, Elijah, he did play a video game. I did see him do that. And the boys did not tuck in their chairs afterwards. And Mom, they did not put their laundry in the right drawer. The other day, I come home the other day, and my boys are alone after school for 25 minutes, right? 25 minutes! 11 years old. I was like, okay, Mike, I think they're okay because Elijah's a safety, so if he's crossing other children, he should be probably okay to walk his brother home. It's literally less than a block. So I get no phone call. I'm panicking. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no phone call. I tell my husband he works 5 minutes away. He drives home. They're there. They can't find the phone, which was on the hook in the morning, right? So my daughter, I come home later that night from class, and they've been home with my husband. My daughter goes, Mommy, I found the phone. It was in Ezekiel's junk drawer. I was like, what? She said, yes, Ezekiel had put it inside of his junk drawer when he was rifling around in there, and I thought maybe that's what he did with it, so I went and found it for you, Mom. I would have never found the phone, never found the house phone, right, in the junk drawer, because the battery had died because they left it off the charger for so long, right? So there would have been no home. So Eden is one of those beautiful children who just self-regulates. And basically, here's the research. What we find is that that same cue, routine, and reward habit loop exists with children. And they did a study back in the 60s, where they brought kids in, and this is back when marshmallows are not as popular now, so I don't know if it would work as much, but they brought kids in and they put a marshmallow in front of them, and they said, don't eat the marshmallow, because if you can wait, we'll give you 2 marshmallows later on, or more marshmallows, as many as you want later on. And so then they left, and they watched the two-way mirror to see how long it would take for the kids to eat the marshmallows. And they found about 30% of the kids could wait a very long time, like 7 or 8 minutes by themselves at 4 years old. And then they picked those kids